Hi, we are at the first Ask Me Anything session of Blockchain Talks. We are honored to have Pavel Kravchenko, founder of Distributed Labs. Pavel has a PhD in cryptography and long experience as a leader of IT projects, both in large corporation and public infrastructures. And he entered the blockchain space working with Stellar. Now you are leading the project Distributed Lab. What is Distributed Lab and what do you offer to customers and companies?
So Distributed Lab is the blockchain expertise center, although we are focused only on tokenization of assets. Our core mission is to build financial internet, so a situation when all accounting systems can freely talk to each other. And we see the first step towards achieving this goal is to tokenize assets, so make them fully digital, when actually ledgers are managed via cryptographic keys. So in exactly like Bitcoin way.
What does it mean exactly to tokenize an asset?
So to tokenize an asset means that there should be digital tokens that effectively are the ownership rights for an underlying asset. And moving these tokens is much simpler than moving underlying asset. So there's an easy example that dollar used to be basically a token for gold until 1971, when the gold standard was broken. So tokens are usually things that represent assets, and since infrastructure for moving tokens, doing some contracts with them, is much more lightweight than certain underlying physical things. That's why it will increase liquidity and reduce frictions on the market.
So there are benefits for companies mainly, and what about the benefits for customers using tokens?
Imagine right now you need to sell an apartment, and almost in every country it means quite a long process of going to a broker, then to a notary, then to a government registrator, etc. And it's this process all paper-based. Although the registry, the real estate registry, is anyway mostly digital. So when consumers will be able to transfer their assets in a fully digital way, they will feel the benefits right away, because it will be much easier and much faster to do the things. So currently the transfer of assets, but the speed and complexity and usability is not matching the needs of businesses. So businesses mostly work online, and it means that all payments and transfers should also be online with the same speed. But right now it's mostly paper-based, with most of assets that are not these assets called non-liquid assets. So for consumers it will mean increased liquidity, transparency, auditability, etc.
Okay. Are there any risks connected to tokenization, and which countermeasures are there?
Basically, not
both from the point of view of an investor, of a trader, of a customers, and also from the point of view of a company issuing a token?
I would say not really. Obviously, there is a risk when you deal with anonymous cryptocurrencies, because if you lose your private key, you lost all the assets. When you deal with assets when you need to be KYC'd, like apartment or stocks, usually it's in a trusted certain environment where you have parties who are responsible for keeping you safe. And if somebody is stolen from you, from credit card, it can be returned, because there is an insurance and there is somebody who can analyze your spendings and say that wasn't you who spent this money. So when you tokenize assets, you basically you enter in the same field. When your assets are KYC'd and everything is fine. So the only risk I see is that the transition period when you move to a new infrastructure. So imagine 20 years ago, or maybe 50, all assets were ownership rights were paper-based. You had to really move papers. Now it's all digitized, but it's not tokenized because they're not managed by cryptographic keys. So you cannot really prove that it was you who did certain actions. Like you log into online banking page, you click certain buttons, but there is no real proof that you initiated these actions. And when we will have digital identity really associated with your physical identity, like in Estonia, for example, then you will be able to sign all the actions online, and there is an ultimate proof that you did that. Obviously, there are some things. So, but when you transition from this current digital infrastructure to a newly created digital tokenized infrastructure, there will be some glitches and some problems, but we'll overcome them.
So do you think the ideal situation for a general tokenization of assets should be linked to a layer of digital identity?
Yeah, for sure.
Blockchain based.
The only difference from basically paperwork to a digital world is usage of cryptography. You have a digital signature, and in many countries, digital signature already is recognized as equivalent of physical signature. So that's it. You are moving your processes from a physical world where they cannot be automated to a process when it can be automated with the same level of trust to the messages.
And beside that of a structured and well-established layer of digital identity, which do you think are the barriers that should be overcome in order for tokenization to take over?
It seems that in most cases financial software is closed sourced. It's proprietary. It has closed APIs. So you have as many different mobile wallets and APIs as many banks you have. So if you write one application, it cannot be really connected to all banks at the same time. Right now with the PSD2 directive, there is a move in the right direction, but the directive doesn't say that all the banks should have the same APIs, which ideally should be like that. So the barrier right now is that companies are moving slowly, and that's obviously the case. And second, there is no agreement about the standard on the market, and everybody wants to push their own proprietary standard. But eventually we'll have an open source uniform standard, like HTTP for value transfer.
Okay. Very last question. I saw you focus a lot on education. Why do you think that is important? And how do you gather the community together?
Yeah, I think education is a very important thing, regardless of the topic. And obviously, we need to do that in order to bring young people to the understanding what's important here, what should be the focus, how it works. And eventually, they could be users, developers, business analysts, etc. So, for example, we are running free online courses about blockchain. Now it's in Russian, but it will be in English too. So there are hundreds, dozens of thousands of views, and we are doing a lot of courses in universities, meetups, hackathons, conferences, etc., just to basically build the community. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're happy to have you here, and bye to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.